A week has passed, and the second episode of Lanterns is finally here. It opens on a suspenseful note. John is trying to rest in a cheap hotel room when someone barges in unannounced. At first, you might expect a Green Lantern to be on high alert in a situation like this, but John isn't even close. Someone throws a bucket of ice water right over him, and that someone turns out to be Hal. It turns out we are exactly 1 day after the explosion at the police station, which is why Hal still has a bullet wound in his head. He remains determined to train John, but John wants to investigate the case instead. 4 dead aliens is a pretty intriguing matter. However, the moment Hal mentions that today he will teach him how to fly, John's focus completely shifts. Hal hands him the ring, and just 2 seconds later simply says, "Fly," as if John already knew how to use it. But it turns out to be remarkably intuitive. All he has to do is think about flying, and he will. So, after stretching a bit and striking his best superhero pose, John thinks that's all there is to it. Yet he doesn't lift a single millimeter off the ground. Instead, he ends up manifesting an energy bird above himself, which wasn't quite the objective of the lesson. Right at that moment, the ring warns that its power is running out, so Hal asks for it back. But something strange happens. When John takes off the ring, the bird doesn't disappear, which is something Hal certainly didn't expect to see. Since John just failed his flying lesson, he will now have to fly in an airplane instead, traveling to the coastal bay where the lantern is located to bring it back so they can recharge the ring. Although John isn't fond at all of being treated like an errand boy, he has no other choice. On top of that, Hal tells him to stay focused to see how long he can maintain the construct bird. Later that day, John arrives at the stadium where the massacre took place, searching for clues. Bloodstains still cover the grass, and the area looks as though it hasn't been visited by authorities in quite some time. Furthermore, Hal realized that the metal detectors don't work, meaning someone must have sabotaged them to smuggle weapons into the stadium. Equipped with this information, he walks through town and calls Carrie, but she doesn't answer. In fact, this is the 3rd message he has tried to leave her. What's stranger still is that the entire town seems empty, yet there is a massive number of cars parked outside the main hall, indicating a gathering he was not made aware of. Upon entering, he finds the venue packed. Hal passes through a metal detector that fails to sound as well, which could mean there are weapons inside, and he doesn't have his ring at full capacity. It takes our hero only a few seconds to realize that everyone was talking about him, as the moment he stepped inside, the room fell completely silent. Moments later, Billy appears and does everything he can to sit next to Hal, letting him know he managed to get all charges against him dropped. Billy invites Hal over to his house as part of this favor, but Hal is no fool. He knows all this assistance will come at a price. And if they are going to trade information, Hal wants to know everything that transpired during the confrontation, where his father's men killed 4 aliens and enraged a 5th. His question is simple. How did his father and his men know who to target when the bullets started flying? It appears everyone was eliminated with a speed that suggests they possessed insider information about them, and that is what piques Hal's interest. If there is a surviving alien that his father knows about, they could be in serious trouble. Right then, the phone rings. It's John, telling Hal he has arrived at his house. John can't believe Hal owns a mansion while dressing like a vagrant, but more urgently, he needs help finding the key, given there are at least 100 rocks in the front yard. Once John manages to get inside, he starts exploring, and the place is spectacular. However, it lacks furniture, making it look as though Hal doesn't live there. Yet Hal reveals he has lived there for 8 years. He simply doesn't require many belongings. While this trivial phone conversation unfolds, we see Hal stealing a corpse from the morgue. In the dressing room, John sees the Green Lantern suits and can't help holding one up for a few seconds, imagining how it would look on him. But time is tight, so John goes straight to the box containing the lantern and puts Hal on speakerphone so his voice can unlock it. John can't see anything inside. It turns out this box operates on a different spatial scale, containing enough interior space to hold the entire mansion. All he has to do is reach in and focus on the lantern. Exactly as Hal instructed, John successfully pulls the lantern out of the box, and now he must hurry back. By this time, Hal has already loaded the corpse into the trunk of his car and returns to the morgue to wipe away any trace of his presence. Before heading back to the airport, John needs to feed Earl, but he has no idea what kind of animal he is looking for. Holding a cup full of meat, he steps into the garden and inspects it bit by bit. It turns out he wasn't looking for an animal at all, but rather a carnivorous plant that nearly snapped his head off. Now he has to keep feeding it until it's satisfied, but Earl is so ravenous that it devours the entire dish in a single gulp. At that instant, we return to Hal, who is removing the corpse from his trunk to carry it toward the playing field. For a few seconds, we have no idea what he is planning, but as the body passes through the metal scanner, his plan becomes clear. William has found a way to detect who is an alien and who isn't by passing them through these modified metal scanners. And that's not all. When he passes the body through the scanner, a camera triggers, instantly transmitting a signal. Seconds later, we cut back to John, who is placing the key back under the fake rock when he is ambushed by two men who knock him out and use a taser on him. By the time he regains consciousness, he finds himself bound inside an armored van. The first thing John asks is where his bird went. The villain tells him he has it trapped in his hand, but when he opens it, the energy bird attacks him with immense force, giving John the perfect opportunity to attempt an escape. Even though the space is extremely tight, John manages to land a couple of punches, but that only enrages his captors. Seconds later, we realize they possess terrifying strength as they toss him around from side to side like he's made of paper. John knows all too well that at this rate, he won't make it out of that van alive. Taking a gamble, he tackles one of the kidnappers, using him to cushion his fall out of the vehicle. But now he has to face oncoming highway traffic where any wrong move could prove fatal. Before sprinting away, he grabs the briefcase containing the lantern and tries to put distance between them as 24 cars start crashing all around and the villain gives chase. Before John can build a solid lead, a black SUV swerves and hits him with brute force, cutting the scene to black before returning to Hal. Like some absurd joke, Hal is driving through the city streets with 4 alien corpses in his car until the police finally pull him over. Carrie can't believe what she's seeing. The odor is completely stomach-churning, giving her all the confirmation she needed to declare him insane. Carrie has no choice but to admit the truth. The metal detectors are fake, and the technology inside them is designed specifically to trap aliens. However, she has no idea where they could have acquired it. Hal determines he will drive the car directly to his father-in-law's house to have a serious talk with him. Carrie tells him that William has never done anything against this town or its people, so this witch hunt Hal is conducting makes no sense. Seeing how resolute Hal is, she has no alternative but to accompany him, though she warns him that she will do all the talking while he simply listens. Standing face to face with William, Hal confesses that he has been across the galaxy and has never encountered technology as advanced as his, so he can understand the curiosity, and he won't leave until William reveals where he obtained those detectors. William simply tells him that they have been protectors of this land for a long time and have a mysterious benefactor whose identity Hal doesn't need to know. Hal threatens to use his ring if they refuse to cooperate, advising William to spill the truth about all the technology housed there. At this point, William asserts that Hal doesn't command authority on his land. He is the ruler here, and if Hal takes another step, the sniper stationed in the cabin will shoot him. They step back, hoping Hal has gotten the message. Instead, Hal flies into a rage. Not only does he step forward, but he also raises his ring, and 2 seconds later, a precise gunshot rings out. Before we can see Hal fall to the ground, the scene shifts back to John, who is tied to a chair. There, he is greeted by a man named Anton, who assures him that all the chaos on the highway wasn't necessary because they don't intend to harm him. Anton introduces himself and his team, then asks John if he knows anything about the Manhunters. It's the first time John has ever heard of them. He adds that if they plan on extracting information through torture, they won't get much. However, what Anton actually wants is to recruit him, believing a man of John's caliber would be invaluable to his team because a great evil is approaching, one so massive that not even the Green Lanterns will be able to save them from it. John declines the offer, but Anton explains that it's not a matter of accepting or refusing. John needs to be enlightened to understand. While his companion prepares a device with capsules, Anton recounts how, long ago, aliens arrived on their planet and integrated among their species. Using their vast resources, they built weapons and technology far more advanced than anything the locals could have developed, eventually using them to subjugate the population and driving their race, and many others across the galaxy, to extinction. Seconds later, the men overpower John, pinning him to the ground and pressing a device against his temple. It projects a barrage of vivid imagery directly into his mind, showing how the Manhunters wiped out an entire species, their species. Once the projection ends, the men pull John up, and Anton uses his knife to cut his bindings, leaving John to make a choice: take action or allow his own race to suffer the same fate. Anton finishes his story by explaining that after their entire race was nearly wiped out, a Green Lantern finally deigned to show up, dispatched by the Guardians. This lantern defeated the creature and promised it would be executed to answer for its crimes, but that promise was never kept. That is precisely why they are here. The creature's last known location was tracked to Rushville, the very town where Hal is right now, and the 4 aliens who died at the stadium were Anton's men, who had been hunting the monster to finally exact vengeance and bring justice for millions of lost lives. But someone ambushed them, people working for William, which is why they need someone like John to locate the creature so they can finish the job. What they didn't anticipate was another Green Lantern showing up, and it's obvious Hal didn't bring John to that town by accident. Hal knows who the creature is and is there to protect it. John's mission is to identify the hunter, and once he has that information, hand it over so they can handle the rest. For now, the town of Rushville remains peaceful, home to a few hundred innocent people who don't deserve any of the destruction about to unfold. Although it would be easy for Anton to send an explosive device and reduce the entire area to ash, he wants to look that creature in the eyes before sending it straight to hell. Before we can hear John's response, the scene cuts straight to Hal, who wakes up in a hospital room after being shot. Carrie is sitting nearby, ready to scold him, telling him he shouldn't have trespassed on private property or made threats against one of the most powerful men in the state. She then asks him who Sinestro is, as he wouldn't stop saying the name in his sleep. Hal informs her that he isn't authorized to discuss it, but she reveals she already looked it up online, discovering Sinestro was a Green Lantern who attempted a coup and murdered one of his superiors. According to Wikipedia, Hal was the one who defeated him, though Hal refuses to elaborate. Moments later, Hal attempts to get out of bed, only to find himself handcuffed to it. William pressed charges against him, and Carrie had no choice but to follow protocol. Before leaving, she pleads with him to stop his reckless behavior, emphasizing that she wants to uncover the truth as well. But if he keeps stealing bodies and threatening citizens, he'll only dig a deeper hole until she has no choice but to lock him up for good. They finally reach an agreement to stop undermining each other, and she uncuffs him so they can exchange details on what they've uncovered so far. Nonetheless, Carrie remains deeply anxious. The town is on the verge of panic over recent events, and Hal's stunt at the town hall did nothing to ease tensions. A few hours later, Hal is discharged, but as he signs the patient registry, he notices he is the only patient listed, a detail that strikes him as odd, since a hospital without patients in a town big enough to fill a stadium is quite unusual. Even stranger, as he walks down the corridor, he notices all the medical equipment is still wrapped in protective plastic, brand new and completely unused. Suspicion takes hold. That night, John finally arrives back in town and stops for a coffee, noticing Zoe sitting alone in a corner. She invites him to join her, but John insists it has been an exhausting day and he only wants his coffee before heading out. Predictably, he lasts less than 30 seconds before changing his mind and walking over to her. The first thing he tells her is that he wants to clear the air about what happened between them, emphasizing he would never have pursued anything had he known she was married. Zoe assures him she's glad he didn't know. John can't help asking about William. She describes him as eccentric, but says she loves him, though she admits needing space from time to time. She notes that when a white man acquires immense wealth, he changes completely, making life beside him feel suffocating at times. A few minutes later, Zoe drives John to the hotel where Hal is waiting. Hal remarks that John shouldn't have picked a girlfriend who could bring trouble, but the truly intriguing detail is that Hal was shot and chose not to use the ring to defend himself. Hal explains that he had to fly because the town felt like a ghost town, exhausting the very last bit of power left in the ring. He needs the lantern immediately. John tosses him the briefcase, revealing he also brought the suit because he figured Hal might need it. Now that the ring is recharged, they must identify the mystery benefactor supplying William with alien technology, the puppet master pulling the strings behind the scenes. As John prepares to get into the car, he notices it is completely drenched in foul-smelling alien slime, and he kicks himself for not purchasing rental insurance. Fed up with the chaos and tired of being treated like a pawn, John stands his ground and confronts Hal about the manhunters. The word alone causes Hal to go dead serious and remove the bandage from his arm. John warns him that in 48 hours, the town will be reduced to cinders, and the only way to save it is to identify the hunter and turn it over to them. He doesn't know who they are specifically, but he knows they are far stronger than he is, even without power rings. According to Anton and his men, it was the Guardians who brought the hunter to this location, but Hal remains convinced their leaders would never do such a thing. They swore to protect the galaxy, though he also recalls that Earth was considered a lost cause to them, unworthy of even a single Green Lantern's protection. The only plausible explanation is that Abin Sur, the man who passed the ring to Hal, was the one who brought it here, which might explain why he ended up dead. Furthermore, Hal is deeply unsettled by how much John knows. John tells him it's time he started taking him seriously because he now possesses crucial insights, including the fact that creating an energy bird and sustaining it without a ring is an exceptionally advanced feat that even Hal hasn't mastered. And it's true, keeping a construct alive independently is a skill that takes even the most powerful Green Lanterns years to master, proving John has immense raw talent, even if he isn't fully ready to wield the ring. Yet as soon as John steps into his hotel room, Hal rushes off to put on his suit and finally start acting like a hero, knowing the situation has escalated beyond control. Without John realizing it, Hal takes off and traverses a vast portion of the universe in an instant, traveling to the Green Lantern homeworld to demand answers from the Guardians. First, however, he makes a stop at a prison cell where Sinestro has been serving his sentence. Surprisingly, Sinestro seems pleased to see him, admitting he knew this moment would eventually come. Hal gets straight to the point, demanding everything Sinestro knows about the Manhunters. Hearing the name makes even Sinestro's skin crawl. He warns that if one of them is indeed on Earth, it represents the single greatest threat Hal could ever face, and adds that Hal is getting far too old for this. Pivoting, Sinestro asks about John and whether he is truly ready, revealing he knows far more than he should, starting with John's existence and whether he will prove to be a worthy successor. This intense encounter brings the episode to a close, promising a follow-up conversation where truth will finally come to light in next week's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and tune in 7 days from now. You won't want to miss it.